All right. So we are kicking off the mid-market slash commercial rep readiness series. Now, I absolutely love talking about commercial and mid-market just because the largest successes that I've had in my tech sales career have been in this segment. I have done a lot of deals and I have been a top performer even as an SMB AE. I've done all right as an enterprise AE, but by far, this is probably my favorite segment to play in just because it's got that ideal balance of volume and large deals, right? Like you can get a lot of volumetric deals, but then also you've got the really big ones. So it gives you that nice blend. And I absolutely love playing in this segment. So let's talk about the shift from either if you're going straight from an SDR to a commercial AE, which I kind of don't recommend, especially if it's your first true quota carrying role. It is a jump. Now, let's say that you have found yourself in that position. That's okay. Don't panic. Hopefully, I can make your life a lot easier. But realistically, what's probably happening on your side is you're going from a SMB AE, a small, medium, or small business account executive, to a commercial or mid-market account executive, right? So let's just do a bit of scene setting. Now, you know I'm not the kind of guy to harp on forever about mindset. So I just want to do this sort of one video to scene set before we get into the really hardcore technical stuff, right? Like I'm all about getting into the tactics, getting into the strategy, the exact how-tos. How do you use, specific sales techniques? How does your sales process need to look like? That's the stuff that I love getting into. But I do have to scene set by talking about mindset, right? So it is a bit of a shift for any of you that are going from either never carrying a quota straight into commercial, or if you're going for SMB from SMB into commercial. There is definitely a shift, right? So what I will say is mindset wise, right? And I've sort of mapped out a few of my thoughts over here. Bigger deals, bigger risks, bigger execution, sharper execution. Those are four things that you have to think about now, because in SMB land, the deals are smaller, right? The deals are more volumetric. You can have a lot more coverage, right? When you're in mid-market or commercial sales, and when you start moving up into that kind of lower end of enterprise, upper end of commercial, right? You were talking about those like 2,500 seat accounts, 3,000 seat accounts, 3,500 seat accounts. We're getting to some decent sized territory now, right? You're selling to like $1 billion plus businesses when you're starting to hit that territory. The complexity definitely gets ratcheted up. Now, with that comes, you need to be executing a lot sharper. You need to be doing a lot more risk management. You need to be getting across your accounts a lot more. And I'll talk to you about what that looks like in terms of practical strategy, practical execution, right? From a SDR fundamental standpoint, you're probably looking at this going, well, I'm a mid-market or I'm a commercial account executive. I don't have to really talk about SDR stuff, right? Wrong. Your ability to self-generate pipeline will still save your ass, right? Like when I was selling mid-market at Gartner, when I was selling mid-market at CrowdStrike, dude, the thing that saved my ass on multiple occasions was my ability to get on the phones and start to generate pipeline for myself. Because even though I had a channel, even though I had marketing, even though I had my SDR, you can't bank on those things. Your ability to still do your own sales development activities is going to be the game changer for you, or the thing that breaks you, right? So don't get too far away from those skills. We'll talk about prospecting. I have like a deep breakdown into prospecting, which goes into a lot of key concepts around prospecting triples, using multi-threaded prospecting, all of the good stuff, right? You have to partner with your ecosystem. Like this little thing over here, right? A lot of commercial account executives sleep on this. They sleep on their ecosystem. How often I would, if I had $1 every time for, every time I heard one of my commercial account executive peers back in the days, prior to me moving into enterprise, say stuff like, "Oh, marketing's useless. I don't really want to work with marketing," or "Oh, my SDR's useless. I just ignore them," or "Oh, you know what? The channel is rubbish. Resellers are rubbish. I'm just going to do it myself." It's like good fucking luck. Okay, like I will tell you from personal experience. I took the time in my first 12 months at CrowdStrike. I took the time to build up my channel slash my resellers. I took my time to start to really build up my SDR. Shout out to my SDRs from CrowdStrike. If you ever watch this video, you know who you both are. But I took the time and I was hard on them and I did push them pretty fucking hard. But the reason for that is because when I really needed it, when I really needed that deal out of nowhere, my ecosystem came through for me, right? Like during my time, especially at CrowdStrike, I didn't have an SDR or there was no channel when I was at Gartner, so I had to do a lot of self-generated stuff. But during my time at CrowdStrike, I leveraged the shit out of my channel, my SDR, my even marketing, right? Like I was really making sure that I was building those ecosystems while I was building my own self-generated pipeline. And at around that year and a half mark in territory, suddenly stuff was coming my way, right? Some of my biggest deals came out of the channel because I gave it the time and the love to build those relationships with key channel reps. So do not sleep on your ecosystem. And I will talk to you about how to leverage your ecosystem and how to do that whole channel play as well as SDRs. But do not sleep on this. Number 4, you are a coach, not just a player. This is such an important concept that you have to start to transition into because you need to be able to not just play the game, but you also got to be able to coach your SDR. You got to be able to coach your channel lead, right? Like a lot of times, channel is good at building relationships with other channel partners, but you need to invest time with your channel leads, aka your channel account managers or CAMs. You have to invest time with them to build their capability because they're out there evangelizing for you, right? So you need to start to think about this from a coach mindset, not just a player mindset, right? Great players make people around them good, right? So that's what you got to start thinking about is how do I bleed capability into the ecosystem around me so everyone else is getting better as well so that all of that leads to more deals for me. Number 5, time management change. There is going to be a lot more focus on prep and thoughtful execution. Okay, you're not just a machine gunner anymore, and you're not just sitting there with a sniper rifle either, and just sniping that one deal at a time, right? Like you do need to have volume, but you really got to start thinking about the thoughtful execution, right? You got to start thinking about the prep. So what I mean by that is if you know that for a deal to really just get nudged across the line, you got to build out a bit of a business case. You got to sit down, you got to block some time out and build out that business case because that one business case, the 2 slides in that business case, when you give it to your champion's going to be able to go in and secure that budget for the project that you two are working on, right? So if you don't have that thoughtfulness to sit down and go, you know what, I could be doing 15 other things, but I'm really going to sit down and I'm going to work on this one piece that is going to make a massive difference to me, that is how you need to start thinking. I see too often mid-market account executives, commercial account executives, they just get fucking lazy. They're just like, you know what, the customer just needs to get it done. They just need to do that. And that is a bullshit mindset. You have to think about what can I do as the account executive to help them get this done. And if that means blocking out 2 hours in my calendar so that I can build out a business case or work with the value team on building out a business value assessment or build out a reverse timeline and validate timelines or sit down with my engineer and do some planning with them on, hey, how do we make sure we can get a much better proof of value or proof of concept executed? It's that thoughtful execution that is the difference maker between reps that are really successful in commercial and reps that are kind of permanently based in that SMB space, that sort of small business space, right? It's that dynamicness of thinking. You need to have hustle. You need to have really sharp, smart execution. You need to be able to zoom out and think. You need to be able to look at dynamics of people. Like it's a skill set you have to build, and you can't just be one-dimensional, right? You will get absolutely eaten alive. The next thing, you have to own your number and your forecast. Listen, you live and die by your forecast, okay? I literally, when I was selling in commercial and even when I was selling in enterprise, I have whiteboards, like you can't see it, but I literally have whiteboards up here. I would have my quota, how much I've closed, and all my deals outlined on the whiteboard. And I'm like, every minute of every day I'm looking at that shit and I'm like, where is this deal, where is this deal, where is this deal? And I would literally map out which deal is in my low category, which deal is in my most likely category, which deal is in my high category, and all I'm trying to do is move my deals into most likely, move my deals into commits, right? And so I'm constantly obsessing over that, and at the same time I'm constantly building coverage, which leads to this point that I've screamed out here in the page: coverage, coverage, coverage. Like, if you do not have coverage, you are fucked. Okay, I will repeat that again. If you do not have coverage, you are fucked. Coverage is, for every deal that you commit, for every deal that you forecast, you hang your hat on it. You're like, yep, this deal is coming in. Have you developed at least 1 to 2 deals that can take its place if that deal slips or dies? And I'll tell you, like, I've literally had quarters where, like, one of my best quarters, I closed almost 500K US in a single quarter, an annual contract value. I think I did close to about 1.2 mil, or just under a mil, or around a mil in total contract value, right? Because some of those deals were multi-years. But for me to close, like, it was around 460K US, just shy of that, somewhere around there. For me to close that number, I had like 800K US of legit deals, and I still had slippage. I had like over half my pipe slip, die, move into 2 quarters out, 1 quarter out, no decisions. Like, you got to have coverage, and it takes time to build that. The only way to build that is by constantly prospecting and constantly building your ecosystem, meaning you're building your SDR, you're making sure your SDR is performing, you're building your channel, you're working with marketing on campaigns in the background. Like, this is how you run a territory, guys. It's not fucking easy. It is hard work, and you need to have the right mindset and the right strategy to make it happen. Hopefully I can give you a lot of that from having been in the trenches and made it happen myself. The next thing I will say, know your golden number. I talk a lot about this when we get into prospecting, but your golden number, and I might actually give you a little, flash of what that looks like. But your golden number is this number down here, which is essentially how many discoveries you need to book every week. How many discoveries you need to book every week to make sure that you're able to hit your sales quota. Okay, so we'll talk about kind of how to calculate that golden number as we get into the other videos, and I'll include links to some of these tools. So don't worry about that. But you have to know your golden number. Seriously. The last thing that I will say is sales process is king. Or queen, whatever. It's probably more likely queen, because the queen is a more powerful piece if we're talking about chess. But sales process is king, right? You have to have a tight sales process. And I will talk to you exactly, like, I will give you the exact playbook on my winning sales process. I've mapped this out. I've used this. I've made a shitload of money using the sales process. It works. There is a little bit of complexity, but when you know how to handle your sales processes, and you know exactly where you are and what to say and when to say it and how to say it and what information you're looking for, you start to see things that your peers just cannot see. Sorry, I think I've jumped around slides. There we go. You start to see things that your peers just cannot see, right? And I remember when I first joined Gartner, I would see, when I was like a 22-year-old rookie, I would see some of the top operators in the team. I would just be looking at them. I'm like, how are you guys doing this, right? But as I learned and as I got skilled up and as I started to succeed, I realized, oh, it's the process. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what to say when. It's so beautiful when you nail this skill, because you literally print money in tech sales, okay? Like, I cannot harp on more about this more than what I already have. Anyways, that is the scene setting. I hope that gives you clarity. We're about to dive into like the hardcore tactics and the strategy of all of this stuff now over the next few videos. I think this video series, I'm going to be doing a series specifically for commercial AE readiness. So this series, I will have the playlist linked below in the description box. My team should have that down there. And if you're a commercial account executive, you just stepped into the role, you're not sure what the hell is going on, watch my videos. If you still have questions, drop a comment or book some time with me. My team, again, should have something down below. We can hop on a call and have a chat and rip apart your current approach, and I can give you some insights. But anyways, I will see you on the next video.